morning. God bless, man. This is Anthony, bold believer in Jesus. Welcome to another episode of Kickback. Season 3, episode 10, I believe. Kingdom Kickback. Been going since it was inside the studio. You can go down the timeline, man. Even to my YouTube at FPM376. Sow a seed, man. Support, subscribe. Just hit subscribe. Big thank you to all the new subscribers that just subscribed. Share the podcast, man. You're sowing a seed by sharing the podcast. Whatever it may be, you never know. This actually goes into what I'm going to speak about today, talking about compassion. As I was digging into the scriptures, getting ready for the sit down, me and the homie French, 10 on the hill, we're going to sit down and go over Luke 7. And what I see from the scriptures here, from our example from the Lord, is compassion. And not just sympathy, pity, simply feeling bad for someone. A compassion that moves, right? The original language runs deep. It literally means like moved within your bowels, your innermost being, that gut feeling, you know? When you have compassion for someone, you're in communion with their passion, with their grief, with their hurting, with their loneliness, their brokenness. You're there with them, you know what I mean? You feel for them. But as I get ready for this sit down, right, and going through the scripts, right, the scriptures, I see the Lord reflecting compassion. You see in Luke 7, Jesus arrives at a town called Naim. You'll see us break down Luke 7 furthermore, but he comes across a funeral. A widow has lost her only son. In one moment, she has lost everything. Her only son, her sense of security in that day and age, her support. She's not only lost her husband, but she had lost her son, her only son. And Luke tells us, and when the Lord saw her, he had compassion. Luke 7:13. Jesus saw her. That's important. Before acting, he saw. Many times I don't show compassion because I don't see. In a culture, in a world that's so busy, I don't take the time to slow down and to notice people. People that are hurting, people that are broken, people that are in need. We're busy, we're distracted. We're consumed with our own concerns. But Jesus, he sees people. He saw the leper. He saw the widow. He saw the woman at the well. He sees me. He sees you. And when he sees us, he's moved. And that's amazing when you sit and reflect about who Jesus is. He knew he would raise the son. He knew the outcome. Yet he still entered into her grief. He cared. That type of compassion reveals God's character. Sometimes we see God far off, cold, uninterested. But when we look at Jesus, the biblical Jesus, we see the character of God. And Jesus said, "Whoever has seen me has seen the Father." The compassion of Jesus reveals the compassion of God. God sees suffering. God sees brokenness. God sees tears that nobody else sees. God sees the widow. God sees the outcast. God sees the forgotten. God sees you. Somebody listening today may feel overlooked. Maybe nobody knows the burden you're carrying. Maybe nobody understands what you're facing. But Jesus sees. The widow wasn't looking for him. She wasn't crying out to him. Yet Christ moved toward her. What grace! That type of compassion we have received so freely. Now this is where it becomes personal. The widow, she wasn't the only needy person in the story. Spiritually speaking, we're all needy. We're all apart from God. No one's good. We're broken. And yet Christ had compassion on us. Think about that. Before we loved him, he loved us. Before we sought after him, he sought after us. Before we called upon him, he moved toward us. The gospel is the greatest demonstration of compassion in the world. The Son of God entered our suffering, entered our world, took on flesh, lived this life I could never live, died the death I deserved, rose again in victory. Why? Because of his mercy and his compassion. In Ephesians 4:32, Paul says this: "Be kind to one another, tenderhearted," that's compassion, "forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you." Notice Paul doesn't merely give a command. He gives a reason, a purpose. As God in Christ forgave you. Everything flows from the gospel. Why should I forgive? Because I've been forgiven. Why should I be tenderhearted? Because God has been tenderhearted towards me. Why should I show mercy? Because I've received mercy. The disciples' life isn't paying God back. It's reflecting what he's already done for us. Sometimes that compassion is tough. Let's be honest. Compassion isn't easy. That's why we need the Spirit of the living God. We need to be born again. Sometimes people disappoint us. Sometimes they hurt us. Sometimes they frustrate us. Sometimes they don't deserve our kindness. But then again, neither did we. The gospel humbles us. When I remember how patient God is with me, why can't I reflect that same type of patience towards others? When I remember how often God forgives me, it becomes harder to hold grudges. When I remember how much grace I've been shown, it's kind of hard not to show that same type of grace. What does this type of compassion look like in my life, man? Compassion isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just listening. That's what we do at the prayer tents. Hit up the homie Nick, tent on the hill. You'll see him out there all over Modesto. Sometimes it's just praying. Sometimes it's making a phone call, sending a text, just visiting someone. Meeting that particular need in someone's life. Sometimes just simply sitting with them. That ministry of presence that we see Job's friends do. They sat with him 7 days before they even spoke a word. Before they went all pointing the finger. They just sat with him. The ministry of presence. Just being there. We often think compassion has to be big. Jesus teaches us different. Compassion is often found in ordinary acts of love. Simple. The person in front of you today might be carrying a burden you know nothing about. You never know what's between those eyes. A kind word may go further than you think. An encouraging text may arrive just at the right time. God's time. A prayer may be needed to know that person is not forgotten. So I examine myself. I do a little heart check. As I study Luke 7, I find myself asking some uncomfortable questions. Have I become too busy to notice people? Have I become too focused on myself? Do I see people as interruptions? Or do I see them as image bearers? Am I tenderhearted? Or am I becoming callous? Do people experience the compassion of Christ through my life? Those are questions worth asking. Because compassion isn't optional for the disciple. It's a part of life. It's a part of who we are. It's what it means to go after Jesus. So we look to Christ as our example. The good news is compassion doesn't begin with us. It begins with Christ. The more we look at Him, the more we become transformed. The more we remember His mercy, the more merciful we become. The more we remember His compassion, the more compassionate we become. Before we move into a deeper discussion with French of Luke 7, let me leave you with this. Ask God today to help you see people the way Jesus sees. Ask Him to soften your heart. Ask Him to show you someone who needs encouragement. Someone who needs forgiveness. Someone who needs prayer. Someone who simply needs to know they're not alone. Because the gospel doesn't change what we believe. It changes how we live. It changes how we speak. It changes how we forgive. It changes how we love. And those who have received Christ's compassion are called to show Christ's compassion. That's the core of Luke 7. That's the core of Ephesians 4:32. And that's the core of the gospel. Stay tuned for Luke 7. Me and the homie Nick, Town on the Hill. We're going to sit down this week and go through it line for line, verse by verse. Going to take a little break from the kickback, but stay tuned. We're coming stronger than ever.